20 best WrestleMania matches. I'm going to literally just rank 20 matches I feel deserve love. And then also after this video will be 20 worst WrestleMania matches, literally like 5 minutes later. Hope everyone's doing well out there in the wonderful world of YouTube. I just need a couple minutes to literally set up, though. Okay. It looks like we're on. Okay, so starting off with number 1 match, I feel is a great WrestleMania match of all time for WrestleMania. Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, WrestleMania 10. Classic match. There's nothing to say. Probably the greatest opening match of all time at WrestleMania history. I would say. You know, you had Owen Hart literally winning the title, which made Bret Hart look weak. Hey, Dork. Hope all is well. Number 1 Dorker. But yeah, WrestleMania 10, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. Classic opening match, like I said. There's nothing wrong with that match, to be honest. Number 2, Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13. Oh my goodness, what can you say about that match that hasn't already been said? You know, Austin bleeding as Bret Hart's got him in a sharpshooter. So much passion, so much emotion. Austin not tapping out. Bret Hart frustrated. Ken Shamrock the referee in the submission match. You know, it both made Austin look good, it made Bret Hart look good, and it made the company look good. It was the match that literally took WWF right to the goddamn stratosphere. Because at the time, it wasn't really right there yet. You know, like they're trying new things, but that match literally took WWF to the stratosphere and made it look really good as a product. So I would say, yeah, Bret Hart versus Stone Cold, WrestleMania 13, number 2. Number 3, TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17. Oh my goodness. When I seen TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17, I literally was blown away. You know, you had Edge and Christian, the Hardys, the Dudleys, Spike Dudley and Rhino, I believe. You know, like this, it was so goddamn chaotic, but so good. Like when you seen Edge literally spearing, what was it, Matt or Jeff Hardy off, like right through the top rope all the way to the other ladder. It was like something that you wouldn't see. It was like something you see in like a goddamn movie, you know. And even still, you wouldn't see that because of how awesome it was. And like just incredible match. And yeah. So number 3 is TLC 2. Number 4, Hogan versus Warrior at WrestleMania 6. Now, don't get me wrong, there was Hogan versus Warrior in WCW. But WrestleMania 6 with Hogan and Warrior. So much emotion, so much passion in that match. You know, it was the first time you literally had 2 champions going head-to-head at WrestleMania. You had the Intercontinental Champion versus the WWF Champion. And I'm not talking about champion versus champion. I'm talking about the big titles. You know, and it just showed a lot of emotion and everything else. I wasn't live when the match happened, unfortunately, but I did get to watch it on VHS. I actually have 1 to, I think, 15 on VHS. So, oh, sorry. Table's a little too close. Here, I'm going to push the table a little bit back. But yeah. Number 5. Macho Man versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. Wow. That's all I gotta say about this match. Was this freaking pure wow. You know? The match has literally been talked about for hundreds of years, and I think it's still going to be talked about until 100 more. Like, both guys showed style that technically has never been seen. You know? Yes, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat gets the roll up pin and literally pins Macho Man to win the title. But just how much Macho literally put himself through, how much Ricky the Dragon put himself through in that night, um, is kind of what set the stage for WrestleMania 3 to be one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. Um, you know, I would say it's a great WrestleMania of all time, but others would disagree. You know, it was definitely a memorable WrestleMania. It was their best so far at that time. But at the end of the day, is it the greatest of all time? That's understandable. You know, it's up there, but I wouldn't say it's the greatest. Um, but yeah. Number 6, Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 10. The ladder match. Wow. You know, what can you say about that match as well? You know, that match went about what? 15, 20 minutes? Even went longer than what it was supposed to. It wasn't actually supposed to be that long. They actually had to cut a match off because of how long it went. But with the extra time that was given and the love that was given, you could tell that both Razor and Shawn looked like megastars that night. You know, and you had Razor Ramon with the two championship belts when he was winning, holding it up high with the gold coming down like the firework gold. Just made it literally so much goddamn better. That's how you goddamn literally do a ladder match properly back in the day. You didn't literally do it. And it was the first ladder match at WrestleMania, but it was not the first ladder match ever. You know, if you want to know what the first ladder match was, you would have to go all the way back to the 1970s when they're doing ladder matches with the wooden ladders and all that shit. So, yeah. Number 7, Undertaker and Kane, WrestleMania 14. The storyline, the match itself, everything. Just French fucking kiss. This is how you write stories, WWE. Is that you built a character. You made him a fucking monster. Kane was like something that no one's ever seen. Everyone literally used to think Undertaker was the scariest motherfucker of all time up to that point. Then you got Kane come in at Bad Blood 97, breaks the cage open, tombstone pile drivers his brother. Undertaker does not want to fucking fight him at all until technically Kane literally burns the Undertaker pretty much alive in a goddamn casket, literally destroys his parents' grave, and then he fucking fights him at WrestleMania 14. Perfect storytelling, you know? And honestly, I just feel that, like, that match itself is a question of how wrestling should be written even to this day. You know? Like, it's a story of, like, who is the Dark? Who is whatever, you know? And technically, I wish Bray Wyatt versus Undertaker did happen, just not at WrestleMania 31. I would have loved to see The Fiend versus The Undertaker at like a WrestleMania, in a way. That would have been a great fucking match, in a way. And if they would to build The Fiend like Kane, oh man, they would have had something special, you know. But yeah. Hey Dan, hope all is well. And then also that could have been Undertaker's last match, you know, as well. So next one is Batista versus Undertaker, WrestleMania 23. Wow. This was probably the greatest WrestleMania that I literally seen up to that point. I still say WrestleMania 23 was probably the last best WrestleMania of all time. In a way, because they had everything on that freaking thing. They weren't literally like showing you. And when you have Batista and Undertaker going back and forth, you know, Tombstone Piledriver, Batista Bob, you know, getting near falls after near fall, You know, it was just amazing how much passion and emotion went into that match. And it was just like, no one knew that Undertaker was going to win the title. Everyone thought the streak was goddamn over. You know, and honestly, of course, Undertaker does win, but at the end of the day, it was a match that technically made Batista look good, made Undertaker look good. And, you know, you can't go wrong with that. Now, number 9, Undertaker versus AJ Styles. It's another Undertaker match, but you gotta give the devil his due. Undertaker had a lot of WrestleMania matches. But Undertaker versus AJ Styles, the Boneyard match, it's still Undertaker's last match to this date. I actually feel he's not retired. I'm calling you out, Undertaker. I hope you literally understand. You got one more goddamn match, and everyone knows it. You said it yourself. Vince McMahon's literally taken out of the office, so there's no more Vince. I think it's Undertaker versus Sting, and I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen because technically there's too much. There's too much money, too much goddamn emotion, too much passion, and not only that, but you literally just talked about Undertaker versus Sting on the Dead Man podcast, in a way. And if you haven't tuned into Mark Calloway's Dead Man podcast and literally seen it, you know, go check it out after my video about him literally talking about the match with Sting, how it never happened, but was supposed to happen, knowing that technically Vince is out of power because Vince didn't want it to happen. I think it's going to happen. You know, yeah, both guys are literally retired, but both guys won that goddamn match, and I think it's going to goddamn happen. You know? So, number 10, Vince versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 19. Oh, what can you say about Vince versus Hulk Hogan? Wow, is what you gotta say. Both guys, for all the way from the 80s to literally the 90s, you know, were like the most dominant fucking force in wrestling history. Both Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon made so much goddamn money for wrestling. They were destroying the living shit out of the 80s and 90s, you know. All the way up until about 94, then Hulk Hogan went to WCW. But until then, you know, you had Hulk Hogan literally was the biggest goddamn name. You had Vince McMahon that made him, you know. And when those two freaking fought, it was like magic. Who was going to win? Hulkamania or WrestleMania? That's what it was really about. Who was going to win? WrestleMania or Hulkamania? You know? And they did a match in a street fight. I thought it was so damn well put. You know? Great storytelling, you know, in that match as well. So much story, so much emotion, you know. Even leading up to it, you know, Vince McMahon really didn't like Hollywood Hulk Hogan because of creative control, it seemed like. But at the end of the day, you could tell they're willing to set aside to literally wrestle to make as much goddamn money. And I would have done the same goddamn thing if I was a wrestling owner. You know? So, yeah. Number 11. Now, this is a triple. Yes, this is 22, if you want to be honest. But I had to add this, and I couldn't rank which one. Anyway, it's The Rock versus Austin trilogy. 15, 17, and 19. You know, like, these two guys had literally the biggest goddamn pops in the Attitude Era that no one's ever seen. When Austin came out, boom, the lights were on. Boom, everything went, you know? Like, you would not even literally hear a pin drop because the crowd was so goddamn loud. Same thing with The Rock. Like, 99 to 2000 Rock was huge. He was over like freaking whatever. And I couldn't rank him. If I was to try to rank him, I would say probably 17, 19, 15. If I was to rank them. But at the end of the day, I feel that each match individually showed their strength. And yeah, 15 might be the weakest, but at the end of the day, it was their first WrestleMania encounter. It wasn't their first match, but it was their first WrestleMania encounter, and they both looked good, you know. So, yeah. Number 12 is WrestleMania 12's Diesel versus Undertaker match. Like I said, Undertaker does have a lot of WrestleMania matches, and at the end of the day, I had to literally add Diesel versus Undertaker. You know, for the most part, Undertaker, like, before this match, kind of literally had it easy in a way. I wouldn't say completely easy, but he had easier opponents. You know, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Jake the Snake Roberts, King Kong Bundy, you know. So technically, Diesel coming in was kind of like, okay, there's this big guy in a way that's pretty much the same height, the same power as almost as the Undertaker, you know. And it was like the first Undertaker test, you know. And don't get me wrong, he fought King Kong Bundy a year before, but that match didn't live up to the hype, you know. I feel. But this match literally lived up to the hype, you know. Even the build up for it, where you got literally like Diesel looking at the casket, and he's literally looking at himself in the casket because Undertaker was playing mind games with Diesel, you know. Whoops. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah. But yeah, I can. That match was just so awesome. You know, Diesel hitting so many goddamn power bombs, still can't get the win. Undertaker hits a tombstone. 1, 2, 3. Undertaker literally wins. You know, just so great. Number 13, Chris Jericho versus AJ Styles at WrestleMania 32. When I was literally trying to get back into wrestling, in a way, WrestleMania 32 was like the first full WrestleMania I literally watched for many years. There was a time where I didn't even watch a goddamn WrestleMania. I still have not seen WrestleMania 30, you know. And, like, I would watch maybe 1 or 2 matches here and there of the WrestleManias, but I never watched it all the way through or paid attention to it. Because I was kind of sick of wrestling from, like, 2010 all the way up to 2016. I was kind of sick of it when it came to WWE. I was watching TNA for a bit, you know, and then TNA kind of got stupid. I was watching TNA from like 2010 to like 2013 for here and there. But even that got fucking stupid, you know. And, you know, and that's the whole thing, you know. But when I seen AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho, I knew I was in for a goddamn treat that I'd never seen before. Because I knew who AJ Styles was because I used to watch TNA. I knew who Chris Jericho was. And I knew that those two were going to have good chemistry. Both good freaking, like good freaking technical workers. Both can literally do well. Hey, Sinistar, hope all is well. But yeah. My body wash sniffing lady. But yeah. Like, there's not much I could say. I'm just waiting for that ambulance to go by or fire truck. Going all night. Finally hit my first stop for a few days. Oh no! Oh, nice. It's always good to get at least a little bit of rest. You know, you can't just wear yourself out. You gotta come see Mr. Rock to get yourself worn out even more. But yeah. But yeah, Chris Jericho versus AJ Styles. Like, those two clashed. Like, just poetry in motion, you know? And honestly, I literally thought to myself, wrestling's good. That's what I literally said. Wrestling's finally fucking good again. And it was because of that goddamn match. And it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but at least it was good up to that point, you know. Number 14. If I didn't put this on the list, I wouldn't call myself a goddamn wrestling fan. Anyway, Hogan versus Rock, WrestleMania 18. Hogan versus Rock. Holy shit. How the fuck do you make, like, put a match like that on and not make it the last match? WWF really fucked themselves on that night, because technically that match should have been last. It had so much emotion, so much passion. The match itself wasn't really that great if you actually look at the match itself. But to literally not put it on the list because of like how much emotion, how much passion went into that match, you know. Both the crowd that night cheering both Rock and Hogan on, both like both shaking hands after the match, showing good sportsmanship, you know. Like, holy shit. I've never seen like a crowd literally do that, you know, before. Not like that, you know, where technically where the fans had control of the night. And yeah, I knew that they're gonna both chant for Hollywood Hulk Hogan and The Rock, but to literally hear like the whole entire Toronto Sky Dome makes Canada fucking proud, you know. And I hate to say this, United States guys, but you never got The Rock versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Yes, they did it one more time, but that fucking match was in Montreal. You guys never got Rock versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan in United States territory. And I feel bad, you know, because technically you guys missed out on the historical moments, you know. Like, at least you got to see it on pay-per-view, but like, to be in that crowd had to be like the most amazing fucking thing for any wrestling fan, you know. Unfortunately, I never got to go to WrestleMania. I was supposed to go to WrestleMania 2000, but I was in a fucking coma at the time. So WrestleMania 2000 is still the darkest WrestleMania of all time for me. I never got to see it. I had my friend film it, and then he literally showed me it later. But at the end of the day, I was supposed to go. My friend won a contest in a way to go to WrestleMania. He went to WrestleMania in a way. But yeah. And he also had dinner with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was his favorite wrestler at the time. So you got to have dinner with him. I was supposed to go. Like, I was supposed to get the treatment as well. But it just never happened because, well, accidents happen. So, number 15, Undertaker versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 21. Sorry about that. Had a little gas there. But yeah, Undertaker versus Randy Orton, WrestleMania 21. Great match. Wow. I really thought Randy Orton was going to literally win the title that night. You know, I really did. No, not the title, but the match and end the streak. Both guys looked like $100,000 that night. You know, it was $100,000 star match easily. And the performance that Randy Orton literally did in that match pretty much cemented Randy Orton's legacy. He was already a top star. He already won the world title before, like a year before this match. But it didn't literally made him look good, because Triple H literally beat him the next month later, and it kind of literally dropped his value. Now, if he was to hold on to the goddamn title for at least a couple months or something, you know, instead of Triple H's reign of terror, well, I felt like technically it would have been better for Randy to literally build. But they killed his character, but then the Undertaker match boosted his character right up back up. And he became known as like the Legend Killer, you know. And it literally seemed like he was the Legend Killer because he was feuding with the Undertaker. First time ever. Just so much passion, so much raw emotion, and so much good storytelling. Like, how can you not go wrong with that? Yes, Undertaker won the match, but it cemented the... I'll catch up with you in a bit. Gotta take care of my daughter. Friend's house, take care. Well, I'm going to be done this video really in a bit, and then I'm going to be doing the 20 worst WrestleMania matches in a star. Literally, like, right after. So, you got the best, and then you got the worst. So, yeah. So I'm gonna end this one and then start up the worst. So number 16, Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle. Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle was a great story. Eddie Guerrero's first title defense after beating Brock Lesnar at No Way Out 2004, which, in my opinion, was probably Eddie Guerrero's best fucking match of all time, besides Rey Mysterio versus Eddie in WCW. But I would say WWE match, it's got to be there. You know, I was a big Eddie Guerrero fan growing up. You know, um, when he literally wrestled the WCW, ECW, I sort of watched some ECW growing up. Not very often, because it was hard to get ECW. Very fucking hard to get ECW. Like, you literally had to have a buddy, in a way, that literally had the goddamn channel to literally watch ECW back in the day. Or else you won't even see it. So, but yeah. But Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle had a great match. You know, I still remember how Eddie won with the freaking boot. I thought it was so fucking smart, to untie his boot, literally roll him up, get the win. And I literally went, oh my goodness, this guy's got the gimmick. He's got the gimmick down pat. Lying, cheating, stealing. He's got the gimmick. Because technically, like with Eddie, it worked. WWE found magic in that with Eddie. And honestly, it would never be calculated ever again. With any wrestler. I hate to say it. They could try it, but it won't work. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because Eddie was literally that guy. He was that guy. He was literally the Latino heat. The lying, the cheating, the stealing. And I still miss you, Eddie. You've been gone for almost 20 goddamn years, and I still fucking miss you. And, yeah. The next one. I wasn't alive for this. I was in a coma during this match, but I did get to see it on VHS. It's the Hardys versus Douglas versus Edge and Christian at WrestleMania 16. It was the only match I actually liked at WrestleMania 16. I thought the whole entire goddamn show sucked, in a way. But that match itself cemented both Edge and Christian, the Hardys, and the Dudleys as the most dominant goddamn force and set up tables, ladders, and chairs matches that still go on to this goddamn day. If it wasn't for this match, probably wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't get the freaking tables, ladders, and chairs like we know. They were using it before it was called it. And I feel like the example of Edge and Christian winning the titles, the passion that went in. You had Jeff Hardy going for 2 or 3 fucking tables there, onto Bubba Ray Dudley, I think it was, and those guys pulled something amazing. Yes, I would say TLC 2 was better at WrestleMania 17, but you have to start off somewhere, and that's a great goddamn start to kick off TLCs, And yeah. So that is number 17. Number 18. Macho Man versus Ric Flair, WrestleMania 8. Wow. Is what I gotta say. Just fucking wow. I hate to say this, but it was the last Macho Man Randy Savage WrestleMania match that was great. He didn't wrestle at WrestleMania 9. WrestleMania 10, I don't even want to fucking talk about Macho Man's match there. But this was the last WrestleMania where Macho Man was literally featured. Should have been the main event, WWF. I don't know what the fuck is your problem with Hulk Hogan being the goddamn main event. When he doesn't have a goddamn title. Doesn't make sense to me. But I'm not Vince McMahon. But yeah, if I was to literally freaking write WWF back then, Ric Flair Macho is going on last. Hulk Hogan versus Sid Vicious going on before. But yeah. But when you literally seen Macho literally winning and everything else, made me so goddamn fucking proud. as I fucking love Macho Man. Macho Man, Randy Savage, rest in peace. You were one of the greatest fucking performers, you know, that I fucking ever seen. I grew up with you more in the WCW than I did with the WWF. But at the end of the day, I still have watched your classic matches, and I fucking still loved you, man. You know, I still miss your Bite to the Slim Jim commercials and everything else. You know, but yeah, number 18 is Ric Flair versus Macho Man. Number 19, it's gotta be another Macho Man match. You know, it has to. Hogan versus Macho Man at WrestleMania 5. The storytelling, the fucking passion, you know, that went into it. Hogan, the year before that, you know, coming to the ring with freaking whatever. And just the way how they build WrestleMania 5 with Hogan versus Macho, you know, where Macho was literally jealous that Hogan was getting close to Miss Elizabeth. That's how you fucking rate history, you know. That's what I'm saying. This is how you write history, you know. And there's nothing but respect for both Hogan and Warrior that night. Nothing, you know. And yeah, you had Hulk Hogan winning, but at the end of the day, I felt it could have went either way, you know. Of course, we know that the face is always going to overcome the heel back in the olden days. But at the time, you know, Macho looked like $1 billion that night. And yeah. Number 20, we're on to the last match of this video. Trish Stratus versus Mickie James. I gotta show the women some love as well. I got nothing but respect, you know, for the ladies out there in wrestling. But Trish Stratus versus Mickie James at WrestleMania 22. Also known as, some people say, the lesbian match because of the controversial freaking incident, you know. But at the end of the day, I freaking felt like it showed both ladies what WrestleMania meant. And there wasn't really, like, back in the olden days, there wasn't really a WrestleMania ladies main event match that was fucking good. You know, if you go look back in the day, you know, you would have, like, Tori versus Ivory. You had freaking China versus Ivory as well, you know. And it always seemed like it was either a squash match or it was a fast match. It never gave any time. But this was the first WrestleMania where the ladies were actually given some fucking time and put on at least a decent show. Yes, I think the match only went for about, what, 7 minutes? 7 or 8 minutes? But at least it wasn't like 30 seconds to like 2 minutes long, you know, where technically their entrance is goddamn longer than the fucking match, you know. But yeah, I thought that Trish Stratus and Mickie James looked strong. They looked freaking great together, you know. Both showed literally like emotion, passion, and everything else. I'm not bad, RY Saucy. I'm just wrapping things up with this video. I'm about to literally start the next one. So stay tuned. It's going to literally happen literally right after I'm done this video. Pretty much. We're going to the worst, actually. So right after I'm done this one, we're going right to the worst matches. So yeah. But yeah, like I said, Trish Stratus versus Mickie James was a great match, and I wish technically there was more back then. I hate the way how WWE was fucking back down to its ladies. Now everything looks fucking good. They're giving the ladies more time, you know, but back then they got treated like shit. Dog shit. You know. And now the allegations are starting to come out. Isn't that right, Vince? Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis? The allegations are coming out? You know, I'm not literally saying that you're guilty, but technically it doesn't look good on your fucking end. But yeah, so I want to thank everyone for coming out, and I'll literally catch you guys in literally like, what, 30 seconds to a minute? So yeah, so stay tuned. the next video will be right about there. So, yeah. Until then, I'll see you soon.